The wind carried the scent of distant rain as Eli Mercer urged his truck down the narrow gravel road that cut across the valley like an old scar. The late autumn light stretched long and gold across the fields, illuminating dust the way a lantern illuminates memory. Soft, scattered, never fully still. The ranch he was driving toward had once been lively, but years of drought and hardship had worn it thin, leaving behind only a few sagging fences and a barn that leaned as though listening for something it had forgotten. Eli felt a weight in his chest, the familiar one he carried every day since Lena passed, the kind of ache that never shouted but instead whispered steadily, reminding him what was gone and what remained uncertain. He didn't expect anything today to shift that weight, but the road ahead had its own intentions. He simply didn't know it yet. He parked near the barn and stepped out, boots crunching lightly on dry grass. A silence hung over the place, the kind of silence that felt less like peace and more like waiting. A thin trail of dust swirled near the corral, revealing the hesitant outline of a large draft mare standing alone in the enclosure's far corner. Even from a distance, Eli could see something unusual about her posture, too still, too withdrawn, as though she were listening to a sound no one else could hear. The rancher who called him out here waved half-heartedly from the shade of a leaning gate, his expression carrying reluctance, maybe even guilt. Eli didn't ask for details. He preferred to watch first, speak later. When he approached the corral, the mare's head jerked slightly, her ears flattening before lifting again. She was enormous, the kind of horse bred for hauling lumber and pulling plows, but she looked smaller somehow, reduced by fear, by neglect, by some unseen history etched into the tremble of her muscles. Her coat, once likely a deep chestnut, was mottled by dirt and scars, her mane tangled into brittle ropes. Eli felt an unexpected swell of recognition, as though her brokenness mirrored something restless inside him. He rested his hand on the fence and watched her breathe, slow and tentative, one nostril flaring before she exhaled with a sound almost too soft to hear. The rancher muttered that nobody else wanted her, that she spooked easily, that she had incidents. Eli didn't judge. People said similar things about him when he withdrew into silence after Lena's death. He stepped inside the corral, moving carefully, not toward her but parallel, giving her space to observe him without feeling cornered. Horses read intention long before movement, and he wanted her to sense calm, not pity. Her eyes tracked him, dark and wide, holding more story than he could decipher. When a breeze rattled a piece of loose tin on the barn's roof, the mare flinched violently. Scrambling back until her hindquarters touched the fence. Eli stopped walking, lowering his gaze, let his posture soften. A moment passed, fragile, suspended, before she eased her weight off the fence, though her trembling didn't fade. Something had carved fear deep into her bones, something she still expected to return. Eli wondered what she had seen, what she had endured, and why she'd been left here without explanation. The rancher explained the situation in short, clipped sentences. The mare had been purchased cheaply months ago, then passed along from one owner to another as her behavior worsened. Strange behavior, he said, reactive, unpredictable, unnerving. Some believed she'd gone wrong in the head. Others claimed she was cursed. Eli didn't believe in curses. He believed in wounds, and every wound had a reason. As he listened, he realized the man wasn't looking for a fair sale. He wanted the horse gone fast, gone quietly. When Eli asked the price, the man shrugged, almost embarrassed, and suggested a trade instead. Anything of value. Eli had brought nothing except the silver watch he always wore. Lena's watch, the only piece of her he kept with him every day. He hesitated, thumb brushing the worn metal, feeling the faint engraving on the back, the message Lena had insisted on. Come home to me. Grief pressed against him, sharp and familiar, but the mare in the corral released a low, trembling sound, and Eli felt something shift beneath his ribs. The rancher insisted he wasn't trying to cheat him. He simply wanted responsibility lifted from his shoulders. Eli studied the mare again. The fear, the fragility, the spark of something still fighting for a reason to exist. He knew that feeling too well. Slowly, he removed the watch and placed it in the rancher's hand. The man barely looked at it before nodding, relieved. Eli approached the mare with a lead rope, though he doubted she'd allow him near enough to use it. To his surprise, she didn't bolt. Her eyes darted, her breath quickened, but she didn't flee. It felt less like trust and more like exhaustion, the kind that comes when running no longer stops the memories chasing you. Eli whispered softly, not words of command, but words of presence, the way he had once spoken to Lena when nightmares woke her in the small hours of winter. The mare's ears flicked toward him, uncertain but curious, and when he lifted the rope, her trembling paused just long enough for him to slip it gently over her neck. Leading her out of the corral proved harder. She balked at shadows, at shifting dust, at the creak of the gate's hinge. Twice she tried to pull away, but each time Eli steadied her, never forcing, never scolding, simply offering his quiet endurance as a counterweight to her panic. The truck and trailer sat waiting, sun glinting off metal, and the mare froze when she saw them, legs stiffening, breaths becoming sharp, staccato bursts. Eli didn't push. He simply stepped beside her, close enough for her to feel the steadiness of his presence. Her head lowered slightly, a gesture not of submission but a surrender, an exhausted acceptance that maybe, just maybe, this man wasn't another threat. When she finally stepped into the trailer, the shift was almost imperceptible, like the moment before dawn when darkness softens but hasn't yet changed. Eli secured the latch, the metallic click echoing through the quiet, ranch yard with a finality that startled even him. As he circled back to the driver's seat, he hesitated, one hand resting on the trailer's metal frame. He felt the lingering echo of Lena's watch no longer on his wrist, a bittersweet ache. But underneath it, something new stirred. Not hope, not yet, but the faint possibility of movement, of direction, of a life no longer held entirely by grief. Just as he turned to leave, a sharp howl of wind tore across the valley, slamming against a barn and sending a shiver of noise over the land. From inside the trailer came a single resonant thud, followed by sudden stillness. Eli raced to look through the side window. The mare stood centered, head lifted high, eyes no longer clouded by fear but sharpened by something he couldn't name. It wasn't anger. It wasn't panic. It was awareness, acute, electric, almost prophetic. As their eyes met, Eli felt a jolt of recognition, so deep it rattled through him like distant thunder. He didn't know it yet, but the moment she stepped into his life, everything he believed about loss, healing, and destiny had begun to shift, and the world around them, quiet, watching, waiting, was already preparing for the storm that would follow.